Resident Evil is notorious in the horror gaming world and has been for decades. Even outside of the horror niche, many who haven't played a Resident Evil game know what it is. This is because it's had some of the scariest sequences in horror gaming history, moments that made us pause the game or jump scares that made us turn on the lights. I've compiled a few of the scariest moments in Resident Evil history, and as we go on, they will get scarier and scarier up until what I personally believe is the most terrifying moment in the franchise. So without further ado, let's dive in, starting with as someone who played Resident Evil 1 Remake before the original, this scene actually does trick you, and that's what's so cool about the remake and the original both. In Remake, when you run through this hallway, the glass only cracks a little. This, of course, was meant to throw off veterans of the franchise who expected the dogs to jump in immediately upon entering the room. Of course, coming back through later, the dogs jump through the second time. Now imagine having platinumed Resident Evil 1 Remake and then going back to the original, playing it for the first time on PS5 in over 10 years, only to realize that the dogs jump through the first time in this version. I think it's really cool that this kinda works both ways. It doesn't matter which one you play first, and that is why Resident Evil 1 Remake is such a good remake. But we're not here to talk about Resident Evil 1 Remake, even though I would for hours and hours. I actually have a video, I'll link to that in the description. What makes this scene so frightening to me is the overstimulation of it. Glass breaks, dogs bark, music cues, paws hit the floor. Everything just happens all at once and it's sensory overload galore. Holy shit. This scene has cemented itself in horror gaming history as one of the most iconic scare scenes of all time. A classic to start off the list, but let's move on to the next one. I firmly believe you can't have a scariest moments list without mentioning this one. In Resident Evil 4 2005 and Resident Evil 4 2023, the Regenerators are enemies who were once human, implanted with several superior strains of the Lost Plagas. This superior strain had the ability to regenerate limbs and any damage taken, hence the name. The only way to subdue these monsters is by destroying the numerous plaga within their body, which can be done with a lucky shot or an infrared scope. Sprouting elongated limbs, sharp teeth, and gray skin, this gives the Regenerators their unnerving look. Not only that, but they are capable of random bursts of speed and have the ability to stretch their arms out to hit or grab their prey. When shooting the legs off a Regenerator, they will begin to jump or lurch towards their target. The Regenerators are terrifying in both versions of Resident Evil 4, but in the remake are accompanied by a power outage and now equipped with the ability to sprint. The introduction in 2005 has a great soundtrack to go with it, and it's an intense situation where you have to make a choice to fight or run as it slowly walks towards you with not much space between you and it. The remake capitalizes off this, doing basically the same thing but better, and now without a door loading screen to save you from an enemy infested area. They can now travel through the area and follow you on your mission to upgrade the keycard. The sounds of the Regenerators breathing haunts me and many others to this day, and those piercing glowing eyes will never leave our memory.
Boo! Where did you find this guy?
Give me a break, Pete.
Hey, I only work with professionals.
Resident Evil 7 has some of the scariest moments in the series and is often considered to be the scariest in the franchise. A big part of these scares took place in a series of videotapes you could play throughout the story, some being optional and some being mandatory for story progression. However, the one that always stood out to me is the guest house tape that shows the last known footage of the sewer gators as they enter the Baker estate. As we enter the guest house, it becomes obvious fairly quickly that something isn't right here. It's not like the place had just been abandoned, but everything else was abandoned too. Cooked meals, pictures, newspapers, it's all still here. As we're getting a shot of Peter in front of the picture, he realizes that Andre had separated himself from the group. Going deeper into the house in hopes of finding him, Peter finds a lever that leads to a secret passage, and it's here where we find Andre. The sudden close-up to Andre's sick and disfigured face is shocking and made my blood run cold the first time I saw it, almost freezing in place. The tape does a great job at setting the tone moving forward into the Baker estate, and I think this is one of the best ways you can start off a Resident Evil game. Ethan Winters and his family have been through a lot. That's obvious, but on a deeper personal level, the Winters, specifically Ethan and Mia, were deeply troubled with worries of their daughter and what she might turn out like due to both of them having been infected with the mold. Mia, of course, working with the mold for years prior, had a deeper understanding of that infection, whereas Ethan was more oblivious to it, just believing that since the doctor said it was fine, that everything was fine. However, Ethan had suspicions of Mia hiding something. She was never totally honest with him, and whether it was his subconscious picking up on it or something else, he seemed to know it. Going into Resident Evil Village, one of the four lords, Donna Benevento, wields the ability to cause hallucinations in her victims. With these ideas combined, Ethan's fear of Rose being a monster, Mia hiding something from him, and then Donna's ability to cause hallucinations, we are given a horrific segment with a very tense atmosphere, and as it's coming to an end, we finally see the conglomeration of Ethan's fears and Donna's powers. This baby, if you haven't figured it out already, is the embodiment of Ethan's fear that Rose might be a monster, and it goes without saying this is easily one of, if not the scariest moment in the franchise. And a lot of you may even be surprised that there's one more after this. And maybe I'm crazy, but I think it has earned its place as the scariest moment, for me, in the franchise. Of course, this being my list, I had to put some personal twist on it, but just hear me out. Now, I feel the need to say I actually don't like Resident Evil Village nearly as much as I enjoy a lot of the other Resident Evil titles, but there's no denying it's actually pretty scary. So it should come as no shock to you that Resident Evil 8 takes up the top 2 spots on this list. Now, whenever I first played Shadows of Rose 3 years ago now, I was blown away. They basically confirmed Chris is still alive 16 years after Village, and Rose is effectively Elsa from Frozen. The enemies bearing some resemblance to the molded from Resident Evil 7 and the malicious twist on the Duke made this DLC feel like a true expansion of Village and not just a mini side story. But above all else, I don't know if I love it or hate it, the mannequin section in the Benevento house was true nightmare fuel. Making it past one only to realize there's another, and another, and another. The quick jerky movements you catch just as they round a corner, or the half second after you turn around to keep them from getting too close. The sound of the creeping wood and the fast footsteps. When I say that I truly believe this is the scariest moment in the franchise, I mean it. There is no safety in this section but your eyes, and even when you've done it 10 times over, and you know there's only 4, you can't help but wonder if this time, just this once, a 5th one will pop out from behind you. Well, I think that's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, if you did, that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm very excited to hear down in the comments what you think is the scariest moment in the Resident Evil franchise, and I hope you somewhat agreed with my list or saw where I was coming from. Lots of more content like this on the way, a lot of video essays. We have Survival Unit coming out next week, officially 7 days from now, so look forward to that, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care, everybody. Have a great, great day. Peace, guys.